what is going on. Today, I want to talk to you about the issue of housing shortages in these United States of America. Housing shortage. I've been seeing a lot of this chat online about the problem of housing shortage. And I've been seeing some prominent Republicans blaming immigrants for this issue of housing shortage, to the point where I was actually getting very concerned about why are they saying this stuff? Like, especially since there is always this thing that, Republicans hate immigrants. So it's always concerning, when Republicans say things, then I'm like looking at it, I'm saying, what is the meaning of this? Do immigration causes housing shortage in the United States of America? And to be sure, because now I've dabbled into this debate now, if the question that was being asked is, does legal immigration cause housing shortages? I would say the answer is no. But when conservatives just say immigrants or immigration without clarifying that they are talking about illegal immigration, then it becomes a big problem. It becomes a big problem for me because the conservatives have consistently been upset with liberals who refuse to make distinctions between illegal immigration and legal immigration. So when you see leading conservatives make statements like immigration causes housing is causing the housing shortage, it does sort of rub me off the wrong way. But let's look at it. Let's look at it. What are the things that contribute to the issue of housing shortage in the United States? Because from what I'm understanding right now is that every single state of the 50 states is having a serious housing shortage. Obviously, the shortage is not the same or uniform across the states. There are other states that have higher housing shortage than others. And no surprise here that the states who experience the highest housing shortage are states that are run by Democrats, like California and New York. But from what I'm understanding is that every single American state is experiencing housing shortage. And of course I would like to speak of this matter as someone who is a foreigner. And I would say, listen, when it comes to the matter of immigration, folks, Americans need to decide this matter themselves. Americans need to decide it themselves. Whatever the Americans decide, every one of us will have to abide by it. If the Americans decide that they no longer want foreigners in their country, well, there's nothing that we can do. We'll have to pack our bags and go wherever the fuck we came from. And that's just how it is. So I would never, for instance, feel like that Americans need to be lectured by foreigners or by someone else in terms of what they're supposed to do with their country. I don't think that's appropriate. If Americans say we don't want foreigners anymore in our country, that's it. I understand that. I mean, I really understand it. At the end of the day, you need to understand that you are a fucking guest. That's what you are. So know your place, share your opinions if you must, and fucking know your place. It's just what it is. But if I limit my discussion on the issue of illegal immigration and the contribution that it makes on the issue of housing shortage, is that especially in these liberal states, you have these millions of illegals who are unskilled and semi-skilled, clogging up some of the cheapest accommodation that is available in any given city or any given county. And oftentimes, they are not only are they clogging this cheap accommodation, they are overcrowding it because they have to squeeze as much as possible, as many of them as possible in it. This is the same thing that happens in South Africa, where foreigners come and take over buildings, and then they leave 10 at a time in a building. I understand that that happens quite a bit. But also, what happens in places like New York and California is that you find illegals using public housing and subsidized housing that is subsidized by the taxpayer. Not only subsidized by the New York taxpayer, it's also subsidized by the federal taxpayers, and that is totally unacceptable. And obviously, every single subsidized unit that is being used by illegals is a unit that cannot be used by Americans. It's a problem. It's a problem that needs to end. And it's not just about the issue of the subsidized units, it's also about the issue of the other housing units that are in the market who are affordable, which end up being taken by these low and semi-skilled immigrants who also tend to, because what tends to happen is that they leave like five of them in a one-bedroom apartment, or six of them, or whatever, because they don't care about the conditions. If you don't think that happens, just go to New York and check. Just check New York and you'll see. You'll find condos, a two-bedroom condo with 15 people living in it. It's a shit show. It's an absolute shit show. Not just go to any inner city, big city in the United States that is being controlled by the Democrats, and see how many of these cheap condos and cheap apartments have a two-bedroom apartment has six people living in it. Illegals. So this is happening. So, and obviously, if you're looking at the supply and demand function of any market, when you have these limited amounts of housing units and the cheapest of them that are available in the market being taken by illegals, that's going to affect Americans negatively. Obviously, it have to stop. Yes, this happens in South Africa, but it also happens in New York. It happens in New York, my brother. Oh, crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. And not only does it happen in New York, it happens in Philly. It happens any of these um, big cities that are run by Democrats. So in the Mid East, in particular, like in Minnesota and Michigan and cities in those states, it's mostly Somali and Ethiopian immigrants who take over these cheap units, and it's just crazy. It's crazy, man. It's absolutely crazy. Yeah, but there's an issue of supply and demand that that comes with the fact that when you have all of these people moving into your city, and you have all of these people um, moving into the city who are earning low wages, um, they're going to be competing with the people in your country who are also low earners. Not everyone in any country is going to be a high earner. But when you're having low earners in a particular country, they can't be pushed out of housing by illegal immigrants. That just can't be allowed to happen, because citizens of any given country needs to take first, second, and third preference when it comes to the services that are available to the people who can't afford um, things like housing, for instance. So the situation actually in New York, I don't know if people are aware of this. In New York, because of the millions of illegals that came in, they ended up putting up illegals in hotels, guest houses, paying millions of dollars per month to house these illegals in hotels in New York City. Like, how do you even justify something like this? So for me, what I would say is that What the United States needs to do is you have 15 million, maybe 20 million illegals. You need to deport these people. I'm sorry. You need to deport these people. You need to that's what you need to do. You need to deport these people, and cities who provide public housing to illegals need to pay penalties for it. You can't receive federal funds if you continue to provide these services to illegals. So cities like New York and places like what do you call it, Los Angeles, San Francisco, you cannot. There's a big problem also in Chicago as well. Big problem. You need to, and the problem that's going to happen is that another Democrat is going to be elected into the White House. Then they're going to open up the floodgates again. Millions of illegals are going to pour into the country. Then what exactly is going to happen? As long as you have Democrats wanting illegals to pour into the country, you're going to continuously have this problem. But one of the causes of housing shortage in the United States, especially in the most popular states like California, in New York, is that developers are just not building houses or condos anymore. The cost of building is so prohibitive that developers have made a conscious decision not to build houses, not to build condos in states like California and New York. That's also one of the key contributors to housing shortage in the United States of America. And then what tends to happen, because housing is so expensive in California and in places like that, is that is that people leave and then they go to the south to more affordable states like Texas and Arizona and Florida, and then but what the problem that does is that with all these millions of people fleeing unaffordable states of New York and California, is that when people move to the south, it actually pushes the prices up that side too, and then it just becomes a vicious cycle where in terms of like Texas was known to have affordable housing maybe 5 years ago. Right now, actually, the housing is actually going up in Texas as well, because with all these people who are fleeing, um, who are fleeing California and who are fleeing New York, when they flee to Texas, now you still have a limited number of units that are available in the market, but now you have more people wanting to have access to those units, and then what tends to happen? It pushes the prices up. It's just a simple matter of supply and demand. And the developers in Texas or Arizona or Georgia, uh, or even Nevada, can't build fast enough to accommodate all of these people who are fleeing these unaffordable states. But now the problem that you are having is that you have these people who are having an open door policy when it comes to illegal migrants. And then you have Americans fleeing from their states, fleeing to more affordable states. But then when they are fleeing to the more affordable states, these push prices upwards, which actually brings it to a point where almost all of America now actually becomes unaffordable. It's actually it's actually as a problem that cannot be fixed until both sides of the political spectrum come to an understanding of saying we're going to close the border and stop illegal immigration. Illegal immigration has to stop. I actually can't think of any possible benefit that a country can ever get from illegal immigration. Yeah, illegal immigration destroys destroys everything, man. Yeah. So, but for me, my concern was that I thought that these conservatives like JD Vance and all of them who were saying that housing shortage in the United States is caused by immigration, I thought that they meant that all immigrants cause this problem. But the answer is that no, because skilled immigrants, when they enter into the United States of America, overwhelming majority of them start at around 80,000, maybe $90,000 a year. They are not competing with the average American when it comes to the housing. Like the kind of housing that they are looking at is a housing that is in the top percentile, maybe top 20% of the housing. So it's not the housing that you would consider affordable. And I would say even more than half of the skilled migrants who move into the United States are six-figure earners. So they wouldn't even be looking at this kind of housing that we're talking about, affordable housing, subsidized housing, public housing. They are looking at luxury condos or luxury houses. Like, I mean, I have a friend who just bought a house in um uh in in Houston. Was it last year? This is a South African engineer. He and his wife just bought a house in Houston, and it was, what was it, $400,000. So you're not going to tell me that someone who's buying a 400,000 house is contributing to housing shortage, because the where he is, where the kind of field he's playing in is not the field that we're talking about. 400,000 $400,000 house in Houston is not the kind of house we're talking about. The kind of houses that we're talking about that needs to be exclusively for Americans are not 400,000. They're not 400,000 houses. Those houses are like 50,000 condo. 60. I mean, I've seen 60,000 condo in Houston, 60,000 condo in Galveston, something for 70,000. Yeah, you can still find something. It's a fix. You can fix it up and actually make it nice, but those are the things, small houses, duplex, condos, that I would say they should be available readily to Americans. Americans shouldn't be competing for a 50,000 duplex with a foreigner. No, I don't accept that, and I don't agree with that. If you are moving into the US as a foreigner, you should be able to pitch for a house that is at least 200,000, 250. That is where you should be buying. And if you are not getting paid enough to get a bond for a house that is around 250, 300,000, then I'm not sure if you are skilled enough um, to be coming into the US. So that's really my view applies to every country in the world, that people who come into your country, they need to be in the top percentile. You can't be having people coming into your country, coming to compete with the average people of your population on basic things like housing and education. That's just not acceptable. If you're coming into any country, you need to come in to add value, and need to be able to, whatever field you are playing in, you need to be in the top percentile. Or else, why are we taking you? For me, that's really my view about these things. Yeah. So I also have another friend who is also South African, who just recently bought a house in Dallas. I think that was like, I don't know, 300,000. But those are not the houses that we're talking about when you're talking about housing shortage. People who buy 30,000 houses, 400,000 houses, and more aren't experiencing housing shortage. Go to any city in the South. I'll just say what, Atlanta, Houston, Dallas, Jacksonville. Anyone who is looking to buy something at around 300,000, that person is not experiencing a shortage. People who would be experiencing a shortage are people who will be buying something that is below 80,000. These houses, duplexes, small condos that are below 80,000, 70,000, I think, in my opinion, that Americans should not be competing for those with foreigners. That's really my opinion about it. That's my opinion on it. Americans, and when it comes to rentals, like because I'm looking at rentals, for instance, in Houston. If as a foreigner you living in a because I'm not going to talk about California and New York because the prices there are just so insane. Like they are beyond anything that anyone like. So let's just talk about the South. If you are a foreigner and you're living in the South and you are not able to afford an apartment at $1,000 a month, then I don't think that you should be in the US. If you are competing with Americans for something that is $400 a month, 450, 500, then you are actually contributing to this issue of housing shortage. Because these units that cost at that price of 400 per month are units that will be considered affordable housing in a place like Houston or Atlanta or Dallas or Fort Worth. And then even if we take it further than that, that you can't even afford rent, you are staying in a city run or state run accommodation in the Bronx. Or let me just make an example. Then the question really is, how did you even get into the United States? It doesn't make any sense to me. Yeah, but in order for any country and the United States in particular to fix that problem, you need to deal with this issue of illegal immigration. You need to deal with this issue of illegal immigration. At the end of the day, it has to be that it doesn't matter which party is in power. Borders need to be secure. Borders need to be secure. That thing that happened under Biden is just so insane. It is incredibly insane. I have no idea how you guys let that happen, but it happened. Anyways, cheers.